Hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Everything, and I'm coming at you with another Wargaming and miniature video. This is a continuation of my assembly and painting of my Macedonian Phalangites. Now these guys are finished. So what I need to do, these guys are finished. I've gone ahead and based them, painted them, decaled them, put some flock, which I'm using sand. I'm using my grit alone because I'm trying to give like a desert effect to my Macedonians. So I didn't paint the grit. I painted the bases. Well, actually I puttied the bases, then I painted the base, painted the putty, and then I put the grit on, and then I left it at that. Because the grit is made of sand, as you know. You've seen me grit all my terrain and things like that. So it's a grit. And as you know, I bought a Macedonian command pack. It came with 3 figures. It came with the standard bearer, the musician, as well as the leader. I went ahead and based them on 40 millimeter deep, because you know each individual figure is supposed to be a 20 by 20. So I wanted to base them 8 figures per base. I got 8 figures on a base, and so they are 40 deep by 80 wide. These are 40 deep by 80 wide. Now these bases are made of steel, and they are super thin. And I personally don't like grabbing my miniatures when I'm moving miniatures around the table, especially plastic ones. I don't like grabbing them, or grabbing this and moving my figures. I don't want to do that. I prefer grabbing the bases. So what I've done is, there's a foam that you can get, comes in a sheet, 8.5 by 11 sheet, and it has a peel-off back that you can stick onto the bottom of your base. And I've done that, and if you can see, it's raised it up about 3 millimeters. Those it's called foam. It's foamies, no mess glue. Basically, it just has a sticky back. You just peel the back, stick it on. Now it comes in a variety of different colors. I bought some light green and black, and I found the light green is probably a little bit too light. I thought I liked the black ones. So, and then sometimes later, on like my American War of Independence, you can go up underneath here and like paint or write or whatever, what kind of unit it is. But basically it allows me to grip them. Also, when you have a thin base, like a metal base, and you push the bases together, sometimes they will overlap, or they will, a lot of people will like just to push their models when they're advancing, and if you do that with just a super thin base, what tends to happen is the bases scoot over and jump over on top of the other base. But when you have the thick bases, either thick plywood or thick plastic bases, like the Warhammer bases actually are fairly tall, or any bases that have like a good thickness to them, you won't encounter that problem. But when you go with the super thin metal bases, that happens a lot. So I have to thicken it up, and I use the foam underneath. Also, it gives them a good grip inside my carrying case. So when I put my figs in the carrying case, that foam keeps them from sliding around. Now I've noticed that I need a new carrying case because my carrying case is not tall enough for these pikes. My carrying case is only about this tall, so I just had to get me a new carrying case that could actually handle the pikes. So that's an issue for me. I went ahead and painted an eye on the standard. So this is good because that was my first unit. So that's my Phalanx 1. Okay, and then I decided I was going to paint their armor white without too many stripes or anything. I don't know if you can kind of see that armor. Their armor is white. There's no additional coloring to the armor. Now their skirt, I went ahead and painted the skirts with a yellow and a red trim on them. I don't know if you can see any of that on the camera, but let's see if I can find one. Well, this one right here, you can see he's got a red cloak underneath his armor, and then the armor itself, the bottom of the skirt, those leather flaps that hang down, I painted the bottom of it yellow. The undershirt is red, and then it's red down there, and then a lot of these you'll see the undershirts are red, but if there's any kind of flaps or anything, I went with like a yellow to match the shield. So this whole unit, I stuck with a similar paint scheme, being that it was reds and yellows. And I found, and this is me personally just saying this, I found that if you stick to the same paint scheme with every model in the unit, then it will look like those guys all belong together. And if I made some of these guys blue and some of them green or whatever, then they would look like they were out of place. And I wanted them to be all together. Now I did make some of the helms red and some of the helms yellow, some of the helms bronze. That's actually bronze that has been polished up. I read a document somewhere that said that some of the officers would have their helmets polished so shiny that it looked like silver. So I went ahead and painted those guys silver. I went ahead and made the blades steel, even though it probably should have been either iron or maybe even bronze tips, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted it to stand out. Alright, now I just recently sprayed them with, just recently, like maybe 10 minutes ago, I don't know if this is going to focus, the matte finish, Krylon matte finish. I sprayed these entirely over the decals and everything. The decals went on really well. I only had a couple of issues with some of my decaling, but that was all taken care of. And as you notice, this is not 40 figures. 40 figures would have been the entire box. This was, what do we got? We got 16 figures there and 16 figures there. So what is that? 32 figures minus the 3 metal ones. So not even 32. I've used 29. So I used 29 figures from the box and the 3 metal that I bought. So what I plan to do is get 2 more boxes of phalangites and make 4 more units. Because my math worked out that if I get 4 command stands and 3 boxes, I would make 4 units. And I think I'd have 1 figure left over. Here, I'll put on the screen my math so you can see what I'm talking about. And that's about what I would need in an army, is 4 phalangite units. Now, could I get... Okay, another thing. The reason why I went with a 4-figure wide base and not a 2-figure wide base is because phalangites only have 2 formations. They only have 2 formations. They got the phalanx formation and they have march formation. And when they go into march formation, they're 4 wide. Right? So actually it says no more than 4 wide. I guess I could have a 2 wide. I could put all these guys on 2x2s, but I didn't want to do that. So 4 wide, march column, no problem. And then if I wanted to go back into phalanx right there, boom. Now I've seen some people model them where they're 10 wide. I'm sorry, yeah, 8, 9, 10. And then when they change, you got to take those 2s and put them in the back. So you go down to 4, and then you got those 2 extra bases. You got to put them back here. But that's just a waste of figures, I think. I think this 32 figures, 2 groups of 8 works out really well. Now my Romans are going to be like half this size. My Romans are going to be 16 figures, and they're all going to be based on 4s. So that's going to be like 16 figures to make their little Roman cohort things. But the phalanx is an extra large looking, deep, formidable formation. You know. Alright, well that's my finished Macedonian phalanx. And I do have Alexander still to put him together and paint. And I just recently got my Lieutenant Spears for bolt action, and I did get my Romans in, so I need to go ahead and start working on them as well. So once, each month or so, hopefully I can get more than 1 unit a month done. If I can get 2 units a month done, we'll be playing Hail Caesar in the next 6 months. All right, thanks guys, and if you got any questions about the Phalangites, or if you have any comments that you want to comment, please comment. I read all the comments, and because I think I have the best subscribers in the world. Everybody on my channel that subscribes, really good interaction with me and everything, and I really do appreciate all that. And if you want to be a subscriber, just hit the subscribe button, and if you want to like this video, please do. And in addition, if you want to help support the channel, get me up and running, get my camera up and running, get a microphone up and running, hit that PayPal me link in the description below. Every donation to the channel is appreciated, and I will catch you next time.